Hey, sports fans and savages, welcome to the Greg Medford Show. It's Greg. We're not coming at you live. We're coming at you recorded from Phoenix, Arizona. In our continuing series on us citizen soldiers who are too old, too fat, too busted up to kick down doors anymore, the musket we can pick up now is pulling back the layers of the American onion to get to the sweet spot in the middle. The press has abdicated its job. The people who are supposed to speak truth to power have abdicated their job. You know, it's interesting. The Constitution talks about inalienable God-given rights, and we have these God-given rights, and we relinquish a little tiny bit of them to the ruling class so that we can function. And they've abdicated their job. They've abdicated their responsibility. They've abdicated all accountability. They've skated out of everything so they can sip cocktail parties, fornicate for hire. So we've got those folks out in Washington, and we're supposed to have this free and independent press, which was, really ratified. We couldn't get the Constitution ratified until we had the Bill of Rights. And the very first Bill of Rights was not about quartering soldiers or speedy trials or the very first one was free speech, the right to gather and pray. And they've abdicated their responsibility. They were never supposed to be part of the ruling class. They were never supposed to be pushing an agenda on us. They're always supposed to be peeling back the layers of the onion. Speaking truth to power. You hear that phrase all the time. They're supposed to be a mirror reflecting what the ruling class is doing back to those of us who vote for them. And they're also supposed to reflect back upon us, our decisions and what we do, and have accountability as the voting people. So never in our American history, never in human history, have so many people like myself been able to whoop up a few cameras, let some people know they want to talk, and pull back. I'm not the New York Times. We're not the Wall Street Journal. But you're going to get more truth from us than you will the Washington Post. Now, we've invited Democrats far and wide to come, and none of them want to show up. It's not an attack show. It's a polite, respectful, open American dialogue, and we can't have great ideas without pushing each other a little bit, and I wish they'd show up. So today, we've got a guest. This is Jerone Davidson. He's running for the 4th Congressional District out of Arizona here. He's taken time out of his schedule, his campaign, to step in with us, and if you're in California, or you're in Illinois, or you're in New York, and you want to make a difference, you can make a difference because your money is not stuck only happening once every 2 years or 4 years. Your money is not stuck in California, New York, and Connecticut and Rhode Island, where you feel like you're being choked by Marxist hooligans who've lost, with cognitive dissonance, all connection from reality. You can make a difference. So I've started voting with my dollars and voting across borders to nudge things around as I can. You can do the same thing. So if you're sitting out in one of those places and you're at work and you pull up, want to hear what we're talking about today, appreciate you being here. Don't just listen. Get your brain, engaged, but don't just listen. $10, $20, toss a little money in and send something out here. These elections, and we're being called a swing state. I don't think we're a swing state, but we're being called that because there's stuff in play, and the Democrats are spending, hundreds of millions of dollars from California and New York to screw with our elections here in Arizona. And it's a great time to listen in and hear the conversation we're having here, because this is going on in your state too. You just may not have somebody there podcasting about it. And if you are in a place where your money is just going to be wasted because it's under a Marxist Democrat stronghold, well, then let those godless heathens do what they're going to do and send some money out here and make a difference where there's some real play on the chessboard. So without any further ado, Jerome, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming in and saying hi to us.
Oh, wow. Hey, I like the cheers.
Settle down, people. Settle down.
We got to bring some hype to this GOP game.
Don't forget to don't forget to tip your cocktail waitresses, bartenders, and dancers out there, by the way.
All right.
How you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. We can chop it up and talk about how we're going to save this country, how we're going to get people motivated to get out and vote, not only get out and vote, but to do something, knock on doors, convince family members that going left is going to take us out of this country. We're going to lose our country if we keep voting with the leftist policies. Now, I'm not attacking the Democrats. I think people are wonderful. But I think, as you said, the ruling class Democrats are very much trouble, and we got to really deal with these people. They have to be voted out of every seat.
They've been corrupted with too much money. And, and with the lack of accountability. Imagine if we had no accountability in life. I mean, I've been accountability every day.
Right.
I'm accountable to my kids. I'm accountable to my business partner. I'm accountable to my company. I'm accountable to my employees. And the IRS never lets me off the hook. So, I mean, I'm accountable. But it seems like Washington's unaccountable. And it seems like if we fix that one thing, everything else would just sort itself out. But there's no accountability.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible. And that's one of my callings to this. That's why I'm running. 30 years as a pastor. Not only was I a pastor, just pastoring local churches, but when I was playing for the Oakland Raiders, they made me the team chaplain because all I talked about was the Bible when we were free. We had free time. So there's pictures of me with my teammates around me, Napoleon Kaufman, Steve Wisniewski, all of the great stars from the Raiders around me in the locker room when I'm teaching Bible studies. So one of the things that pastoring does to a person is it makes them attentive to the needs of the people. You become sensitive to their emotions. You become sensitive to their spiritual needs. You become sensitive to their physical needs. And 30 years of that, to me, has taught me to listen to the people. I've been there for their pregnancy, first birth, first day of school, graduation. I'm there at their sick bed. I'm there for their weddings, there for their funerals. And I just love people. And I hate to see people hurting, and I hate to see them mistreated. And when I saw President Donald Trump being mistreated by the press, by the left, by globalists, and seeing people rights being taken away, hey, man, my passion just swelled up in me. I feel like I need to be a representative for the people because the rest of these folks, they get there and they start representing themselves.
Let me ask you about this because this is a new burgeoning class of Republicans I see, black conservatives.
Yeah.
And it seems I listen and read a lot of stuff about race and have my whole life, and it's the elephant in the living room. I mean, a black conservative, I'm sure doesn't go over well at Christmas.
Or at church many times.
Is your congregation African American or is it?
Yes,
it is more. I don't know how blended. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's we may have 5 or 6 white people in the church.
Okay.
We have maybe 5 or 6 Hispanics. But
yeah.
But they love the church.
And so how does your congregation deal with your conservatism? Is because it must bleed through and they must know.
I had some people get upset with me and want to leave the church, but I've sat down and talked to them and I showed them a list of values, okay? Some of the things that you're voting with, abortions, same sex, all these different things are anti-Christ. These are anti-biblical views. You cannot separate it. For some reason, the church people feel like they can separate their politics from their faith. You can't do that. Either you live in your faith 24/7 or you're not living your faith at all.
I think for people of faith, they have to find some way to rectify that and come to terms with it. And I think it's challenging for everybody, and it's part of the internal dialogue and struggle that has to go on with everybody. Right. Let me ask you, have you lost friends and family members over being a black conservative?
Oh, have I? Yeah. Have I? Yes, I have. I have 3 siblings. I have 2 brothers and a sister, and they didn't talk to me for a long time. Especially when I went to D.C. I had one of my brothers call me. He yelled at me, and I was there for January 6th because, hey, I told him this is something happening that is far above your head. You have no idea what's happening. This is spiritual to me, and this is saving for the country. Okay, when you don't have a vote, you don't have a country. And when you have people bringing in these twisted values and ending a prayer with a man and a woman, these blasphemous things that they're doing,
crazy.
We can't do this kind of stuff.
So, I'm gonna keep these conversations, like if someone wants to vote for you here in Arizona, and CD4 is basically Mesa, Tempe, Ahwatukee, Chandler. You were telling me,
absolutely,
right?
Yes.
And, it's pretty clear, and I've interviewed so many politicians now. We can hit the big 5 topics, and you're going to come down on the conservative side on them.
Right.
And abortion, all of a sudden, is forefront of everyone's deliberations.
Wow.
I see what's gone on. You know, it's sad to me that it's been hijacked, because if you and I can't have a private conversation when we're supposed to make a decision, how do we, because let's say two people decide, hey, you guys seem like pretty smart dudes. We'd kind of like you to weigh in on this formally.
Right.
How are we supposed to weigh in if we can't talk to each other?
Exactly.
'Cause what's happened is, behind the scenes, private communications among, the justices don't sit around a table all day. Americans don't know what the Supreme Court does very much.
Right.
But they don't sit around a table all day deliberating. They're off working in their offices, and they their thoughts are almost like a text chain. They comment, and then it moves around the group.
Yeah.
This is spooky what's happened.
Wow. It's something that you said, that word spooky, because this is demonic. I think we are under a spiritual attack. And me being a pastor, I've been involved with spiritual warfare for over 30 years. And when I saw this stuff that they were doing against President Donald Trump, I saw it as I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
This is that kind of stuff. It's Jezebel versus Jehu. And Jehu was, to me, President Donald Trump. He was this rough rider. He's rugged, but he knows how to battle. And he's been chosen by God for a specific task. I'm not saying he's perfect.
Right.
I'm not saying he's a pastor. I'm not saying he's a prophet. I'm saying that he had been appointed by God to stand in that seat. And we saw it. And so many things were spiritually, and so many things that was going on under our feet here on this terra firma in America, that we had no idea was going on until President Donald Trump became president.
One of the biggest things I've said about him is, there's certain people, most people are cowards, and they're cowens. They're fakers. They're not real.
That is so true. I want to say something on that.
He's the real thing.
Absolutely.
And frail ego and a New Yorker and a little brash and maybe not the kind of, but I'd say his persona that you see is not somebody that I would enjoy, but personally I enjoy him and his family. I think they're wonderful. Right.
The so, great American family, great American story.
Yeah. And so what we see is Washington is full of cowens and cowards, and we see him, he was the real thing. Willing to have a fight.
Absolutely.
And when you're willing to have a fight, the enemies that rise up begin to define you.
Absolutely.
And you get to see who they are. I voted for him because I was like, well, let's get the Supreme Court going in the right direction. We got to block the madness. And I was like, I like him because I think he's going to run through the temple with a bullwhip and kick over the money changers' tables.
Absolutely.
And he did.
He did.
And I didn't realize how bad it was going to be. And when he said that, he said the same thing at several rallies I was at.
We said what?
I didn't realize how bad it was going to be in Washington. He said, I've never seen anything like it. He goes, I've done business, I've tried doing business in places where you can't do business.
Right.
Because I've never seen anything more corrupt than Washington, D.C.
Unbelievable.
When you hear that,
yeah,
he's not like a ingenue from Des Moines, Iowa.
Oh, no. He's a playboy.
He's
knows.
a world player.
Exactly.
Okay. And he said, that's the most corrupt, dirty, awful thing I've ever seen. And I believe him.
I believe it.
He would say crazy shit, and everyone would just deride him about it, and it would all turn out to be true.
Right.
One thing after the other. Like, he would say, lightning came out of my ass 3 times. And everyone goes, that doesn't happen. And then there would be pictures of it. I mean, it was almost that bizarre.
Wow.
Like the FBI spying on him.
Yep.
And they just made fun of him.
Yeah.
That Russia collusion thing. And they're still saying that stuff.
They're still saying it.
They've said it so long.
Right.
They don't, half of them don't realize it was phony. So let me go back to this because it's the black elephant in the living room, okay? So you're a black conservative. How did you get here? Because so many African Americans vote 87 to 92% monolithically Democrat.
Right.
Now, I've read my Malcolm X, and Malcolm X was really clear.
He warned them about the Democrats.
Yes, he did.
Not?
Yes,
Amen.
he did. Yeah. So, he talked about the plantation of the
plantation
modern
Negroes.
white.
You have these black gatekeepers like Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson was one of these guys that President Donald Trump, before he's president, was helping him. He gave him millions of dollars.
Those guys loved him.
They loved him. They were friends.
Yeah.
But President Donald Trump dated a black woman. He helped a woman named Jennifer Hudson, who, when she lost her family to murder, President Donald Trump put her in his hotel in Chicago for a whole year, free food, free housing.
He did
free
all
security,
kinds of stuff, and
all
he
kinds of stuff.
never made fanfare. You remember when that Marine got caught over the border down here in Tijuana?
Yep.
You know, he has been doing stuff behind the scenes for decades. I mean,
Yeah.
you would do if I was a billionaire, the shit I would be up to, I'd be like, oh, let's go get that guy out of Afghanistan. He shouldn't be in prison there.
One of the things that brought tears to my eyes about President Donald Trump, as you said, he's a New Yorker. He's a businessman from New York. He's got that New York swag. He's very strong, right?
Yeah.
But the man is so tenderhearted and forgiving.
Yeah.
Case in point, Snoop Dogg came in and did the bullet to the head video against Trump, right?
Yeah.
And he came up with the song F Donald Trump, right? But when President Donald Trump was on his way out, Snoop Dogg went to him and begged to adjudicate one of his friends from prison. And I told I was saying to myself, President Donald Trump, don't do it.
He did it.
Don't do it.
And he did it,
And
right?
he did it anyway. He's very forgiving.
His grace.
He's so forgiving. I mean, he's far more forgiving than I would be.
It's grace.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see it because you see that hard nose out there with his chin up because he's in the fight.
Exactly.
You know, if you watched our young men and women in battle in Afghanistan and Iraq the last 20 years, it would spook most moms and dads and siblings and children to see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And then quietly the grace of the dealing with children and dealing with what they were doing, the social work component that wasn't just kicking down doors and shooting bad guys.
Right. So you separate the humanity from the war.
We have a tendency to, the news doesn't show grace because it's not good news.
Right.
I find it lovely. It brightens my day. So I just shut the mainstream media is out of my head completely.
Wow.
I don't let them they don't get any of my real estate for free.
Good.
But I think about, you could write down a list of stuff Donald Trump's done that didn't need to be done and it was privately done.
Amen.
And it's ongoing.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, he's the real thing. What was one of my favorite things about him, there were so many gifts we got from him we didn't expect. I just thought he was going to be a pain in the ass to everybody and put up conservative justices.
Right.
And then we found out where all the rotten people were.
We did.
Because he had to fight him.
Yeah.
You know, if you got a dude he's not going to do a drive-by shooting. He's going to get out on the court and fight.
And fight. I love
so
it.
okay, now we get to see who the thugs are in Washington, D.C.
Right.
It turns out the thugs are federal employees and elected officials.
Right.
And they're awful.
Well, one of the reasons why I'm a great candidate is that you see the fight that I have to go to being a black conservative. I have to fight against my own community. And I love my community. I love my black heritage. I love black church. I love black people, love my folks, but I love everybody.
How does it play with white people?
Me being a black conservative?
Yeah.
They love it. They love it. They appreciate the fact that I fought past, as you said, the media. You fight past all the dogma, all the lies, all of the propaganda, and realize, hey, man, you're white, I'm black. We can make black and white jokes, but at the end of the day, we're still Americans. We still love each other. We still appreciate each other, and we still love our country and love this state.
You know, it's crazy. I was watching during this 2020 campaign, and it was the height of COVID and all of that going on, and you could see he did not want to be shutting the country down.
Oh,
you could see the establishment just kind of drowned him, and he's
Dr.
like,
Fauci,
and he can't be the only guy. You know, the non-doctor construction guy telling the doctors to F off, basically.
Yeah.
You could see him kind of getting swept away.
Yeah.
And they saw it as this big opportunity to drown him.
Right.
And one of the things, so I'll tell you some personal stuff that it's not related to your candidacy, but this show is about getting to know people.
Right.
It's less about.
That's fine.
Like I'm pretty sure I know your stance on the border. I'm pretty sure I know your stance on abortion.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I know your stance on critical race theory.
Amen.
And so all of those things, those are going to weigh in, and I'm going to ask you your opinions on a couple of them because they're germane. But this show is really about getting to know the people that we're sending to Washington and hearing the nuance and finding out their backgrounds.
Yeah.
My family came out of South Carolina, Texas, National Slave Owner Registry. I mean, kind of weird old history.
Right.
And my brothers actually, they talk to a group of black Medfords on the East Coast of the United States and are like organizing a get together, and I'm kind of like weirded out by the whole thing. So my family, my grandfather was a cop, West Texas.
Right. So y'all are known.
I've heard the N-bomb dropped a few times in my past. Okay.
Okay.
And I always have been wrestling with telling the truth and telling what you see, but not being a racist, not being a bigot. Struggling.
Great point.
Like, you got to be able to tell the truth.
Exactly.
But then so many times when you say the truth, you get labeled a racist or bigot, or, it all gets blended together. And I watched what happened during the Trump presidency. Not only did I go to the rallies, and the rallies looked very...
So did I.
It wasn't a bunch of hillbilly white people.
You had a bunch of Latinos. You had Chinese. You had blacks. It was a beautiful thing, man. I just posted some pictures on my Facebook yesterday about me being at the October 26th rally here in Goodyear. I was like, man, hey, listen, I didn't even realize at the time I was going to run for Congress. I wasn't going to run for anything. I was just out there supporting President Donald Trump because we needed him back in office, man. Yeah. We really needed him.
Did you see Dinesh D'Souza's movie that came out
2,000 Mules?
Yeah, did you see that yet?
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it too. We've had several of the folks. I was asked to go do a couple of opening. I couldn't break away. I was moving, but it makes me sick to my stomach what I've heard, and I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to everyone getting their comeuppance.
Why couldn't we get any courts to allow evidence to be presented in court?
Right.
Were the courts coordinated with the media and with the Democrats and the neo-liberals?
Yeah.
Why didn't the courts want to hear this evidence? And now that the evidence is here, why aren't they hearing this evidence? And here's another thing. How is this man running for Senate, our AG? How is he running for Senate? And he has evidence of crimes on his desk right now. This is crazy. Handle the business of the people.
The thing is, I think they didn't do a great job gathering the evidence.
Oh,
I think ultimately he's got to go in court and be like, guys, I got to, he's like the DA, and the cops come to him,
right?
And they're like, there's coke all over this guy's nose, and he's like, I need more evidence than coke on his nose.
Right.
He's so I feel his pain a little bit, but I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, look, go with 80% of the evidence.
Yeah.
Start kicking down some doors.
Yeah.
See what happens. See what rats pop out.
Exactly.
Like, start pushing it. You know what I mean? Have some trials. Like,
well, still to this day,
yeah, not one.
We have not had a look at the spunk logs or the routers. They said that they were not connected to the internet. We want to see what kind of traffic was coming in and out on those routers and those spunk logs. We want to see.
Yeah.
And if I were AG, I would make sure I got those things. But he didn't do it.
I want to tell you a gift I got from Donald Trump, and then we're going to dive into some personal stuff with you, okay?
Okay, sure.
So I've been wrestling with this history, and all my whole life I've been around, grew up here and in Massachusetts, which Massachusetts is one of the most racist places I've ever been.
South Carolina, Texas, and now Massachusetts?
Well, the families from South Carolina and Texas on my dad's side, my mom's side, are all massholes.
Okay.
and they're great. But I noticed that is a very everybody knows if you're Irish or Italian or Portuguese or black or Puerto Rican. Out here, people don't racially identify as much because I had grown up here and I was like, I kind of know my heritage because my grandfather was Greek. But back there, it's a big deal
because it's a Democrat state.
Right.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say, it was interesting phenomenon. I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you watched a lot of the same rallies I did. He started having people come up and tell their stories. He's got the podium. All these people are there.
I love the way it's spontaneous.
As a podium, he just steps aside and he's like, "Oh, tell everybody what he's no script."
Right.
And that's like he's willing to just hear the truth.
Yep.
So he's inviting up this Guatemalan guy who I have nothing in common with.
Right.
And you would think if you looked at me on my surface, ex-Marine, infantry, knife business, Arizona. He wants the wall and screw all those brown people.
Right.
So, that's what the surface judgment of me from outside is.
Yep.
And then I see this Guatemalan guy up, and he tells a story about how COVID's impacted his small business, and how he brought his family here, and he sounded like my grandfather off the boat from Greece.
Wow.
Then he has a black guy come up, and this dude's blacker than a fucking coal mine. He's not American mix. He's from Nigeria.
Yeah.
He's got a restaurant club bar, and I think it was in St. Louis, and several of his family works there. And he was telling this tearful story about how it's crushed him. He borrowed all this money and put this company together, and it's been crushed by these oppressive rules and shutdowns.
Yeah.
And he's basically, Trump was like saying, hey, we can't do these shutdowns, with his hands.
Yeah.
We can't do all these shutdowns. This is crazy.
Yeah, right.
So this guy gets up and tells his story in broken English with a Nigerian accent, and he and I look like we're from opposite planets, and he sound like my grandfather.
Wow.
And then if you listen to a Joe Biden gathering, any woman, any female over the age of 50, I have less in common with. If she's Jewish and a Democrat, I have nothing in common with, and I feel like she's a goddamn alien. And the black guy from Nigeria, I completely identify with.
Wow.
And I saw Trump break down like racial stuff, and it was about human experience. And I kind of noticed it, and it was kind of liberating for me.
Wow.
Because I was sad about everything that gets said about me or him or anyone else. And then you see these, and I know you've seen all these pictures for the last 30 years, 40 years he's been in the media. You see him hanging out with Tyson. You see him hanging out with this guy and Don King and all
the rappers rapped about him.
Everybody who's anybody in New York had hung out with Donald Trump, right?
Absolutely.
And they wrote songs about him, and now he's a bad guy. Okay, so when did you become conservative? And I know sometimes that's very intertwined with Christianity and the seriousness of your Christianity, and it's hard to be a serious Christian and be a leftist.
It's impossible now. It's at this point, it's very much impossible.
So when did you become politically awoken to conservatism?
When President Donald Trump, the way he answered the media on this is that Obama woke me up.
You said, hey, something's wrong, or you said
something's wrong.
I mean, did you vote for him the first time? I did.
I voted for him the first time.
Yep, because I was like, okay, let's do this.
I was not into politics. The church had taught me my whole life not to get involved in politics.
Right.
And I was being a good religious boy and doing my religious thing and staying away from politics. But my eyes were attracted to this first possible black candidate, and I started watching him, and I happily voted for him.
Yeah.
Months after I voted for him, I started seeing and hearing things from this man that were anti-Bible, anti-America, all these things, like he hate America, like he hate white people. Instead of making race relations better, he made them worse. And I was watching all this stuff. Then he started pitching all of this same-sex stuff, and I asked God to forgive me. I kneeled down every day for at least 3 weeks, and I asked God to forgive me for voting with this man. And I didn't stop asking for forgiveness until I felt a release in my spirit. And when I felt a release, I broke down and cried. From that, I was looking for another way. I started getting involved in politics, slowly begin to edge my church into politics, slowly.
These passions grab us, don't they?
Right. They when they get us, they get us. And it was a spiritual thing. It wasn't just a natural thing. This was spiritual. This was God waking me up and helping me realize that politics are tied into the Bible. King David was a political figure. Daniel, the prophet, was more of a governor than he was a prophet. Jeremiah prophesied to kingdoms and to kings and all these. So I didn't realize all of this stuff until that epiphany, until that moment happened with Obama. And then President Donald Trump came along. And when he came along, his speech, it captivated me. It moved me. It was powerful.
It got me too. And I've been plugged in for 30 years talking politics. I mean, I love sociopolitical philosophy. I love seeing the chess game being played and to see how it's going, because it's the functioning of my republic that I'm a part of.
Right.
But I fell in love, and look, I'm a patriotic former Marine who's been deployed for a country, for God's sake, and I fell in love with the country when he got elected, and it made no sense.
Wow.
There's something I've thought about in the past, and I'm not a religious. I was raised Greek Orthodox. I'm not very religious. Christ talked about all men being created equal. And it was a big part of what he was doing, challenging the church, challenging authority, challenging the Pharisees, challenging the status quo. And I think it's one of the reasons those things resonate so well, because it's about being created and endowed upon by the Creator. You're not the dad of me. Right. You didn't make me.
Exactly.
You're really not in charge of me. I'm just going to let you in charge a little bit so we don't all kill each other.
Right. We need the government. All we need them to do is protect us, and they're failing at that. Under the Democrat helm, under their policies, America is hurting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have abortion. We have same sex. We have parental rights over the children. Now they're saying that the children whose minds aren't even fully developed can have a sex change as early as 8 years old without parental guidance or knowledge.
Batshit crazy.
This is crazy.
And then Disney goes against it.
Wow, bro. We could talk for hours on this, man. Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
And their employees are doing, the employees are recording Zoom calls and putting them in the press. I'm like, you guys know you're a family-friendly kid thing.
Right.
I guess you want all Democrats to go. Is that the deal?
I had been hearing things out of Disney for a long time, man. I do a lot of research. They call that being what they call a political, what they say a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing a lot of research, and a lot of the conspiracies have been conspiracy truths, and that's why they want to stifle free speech. This is why they want to get rid of free speech, because they don't want the so-called conspiracy theory to be known to be the true conspiracy. And we're seeing it. America's noticing it now. America's waking up, and now they're looking for the next. They're looking for the next big event to distract us from the elections.
Oh yeah, and they're trying to whoop up a war.
Absolutely.
I guarantee they are.
They are.
Yeah.
They are trying to do it.
And
they don't care if it's even nuclear. I think they want the nuclear. They want Russia to react in a nuclear response, and therefore that would call for a martial law, a shutdown,
right,
and end all of this election stuff.
No, I'm telling you, I think there's children running the country right now.
Yeah.
When I say children, I mean
as far as mind development.
Well, 20s and 30s and a couple of 40-year-olds
right,
who haven't been anywhere or done anything, and they haven't had to build a congregation or build a company, or I think they've been part of the Politburo of the Democrat establishment machine in D.C. That's all they know.
Never got dirt under their nails.
Right.
Never worked.
When I heard Trump talk about implementing soldiers in the battlefield, I said, oh, that's my kind of guy.
There we go.
He was old enough to know he was old enough that I heard wisdom when he talked about using soldiers.
Absolutely.
And everybody else, they talk about it like it's a game or a policy, except there's lots of dead people in the wake of it.
Right.
We kill a lot of people fixing things. In Iraq,
right,
Afghanistan, I don't know what's fixed, but we killed a lot of people.
I know. And we went on a false premise, right? We went there because of weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
But when we got there, we discovered no such thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel the same thing is happening in Ukraine. I felt something spiritually when they started talking about this Ukraine thing. I didn't believe it. Here we have a company that was under the scope, the telescope. We were watching them because of corruption.
The country,
government, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now we're going over there sending them money that haven't been voted for by Congress, and we're sending them billions of dollars. And I think it's being washed and laundered back to our politics.
Something for sure. And it's real interesting that I don't want to go off on a tangent about the Hunter Biden laptop, but it's real interesting that they have huge the Bidens have huge energy ties in Ukraine,
right,
with Russia.
Wow.
I mean,
we could talk forever.
You couldn't make this shit up.
I know, man.
And then they accused Donald Trump, who wanted to put a hotel in Moscow, of colluding with the Russians. And I'm like,
but that's not misinformation. Now they want to ding us for misinformation and come out with a ministry of truth, which is something from Orwell's,
yeah, that's crazy.
Book.
That's from Harry Potter.
It's crazy, man. But here's a rebuke, and let this be a rebuke to the churches. That since you have been so silent, you've been so afraid of losing your 501c3, your almighty 501c tax status from the government, you have been silent and you've neglected your duty from God to speak out and speak up. So now they've come with their ministry of truth, which is not truth. It is ministries of lies. It is ministry of propaganda. Yeah. It is ministry of death.
It's
and it's here to take away freedom of America.
This is Soviet propaganda 101. I mean, this is the Politburo. We have everything we do is whack-a-mole. You go to Congress, everything you do is going to be whack-a-mole. There's one way to save this country, and there's one way only. And any talk of anything else is just sticking a finger in a dike. It's not fixing the flood. We have, as conservatives, we wake up older in life usually. We go through all of this stuff when we're younger, all of our naivete and all of our programming and propaganda. It takes a while to melt away, especially if we go to college.
Right.
I went to college, University of Massachusetts. I went to school, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Was that before or after the Marines?
It was after.
Wow.
Yeah. and after and during, and the real battle is the real war, not the battle. These battles we have wins and losses.
Mm-hmm. You can lose some battles, but you can still lose the overall war.
Yeah, and we win a lot of battles because the weight of our ideas are better. Conservative ideas are actually better.
Absolutely.
And so as Americans, we fail to acknowledge that liberals and Democrats, their heart is in the right place.
Right.
Their approach is wrong.
Right.
And there's a lesson we can all learn about having a tender heart in the right direction.
Right.
And they have a lesson to learn about the strength of results.
Okay.
We get good results. Our policies are good.
Yeah.
Their hearts are, and our hearts can be in the right place too. Mm-hmm. Their hearts are in the right place. They're not wrong. Welfare. I mean, pick anything that is kind of a leftist agenda.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Prison reform. Those are all thoughtful things.
Yeah.
Like to be kind to our fellow citizens, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Their approach though is wrong.
Yeah.
Letting people off is not. That's not what reform, right?
Right.
The war though is our kids. Our kids are brainwashed, and I see it with my son's blue-haired English teacher with her rainbow bracelet on.
Right.
And look, I'm not homophobic at all.
Right.
Look, man.
Phobic. What is there to fear?
There's nothing to fear. Right.
You got your pants on. You got your gate closed.
Right. I've never been threatened by gay guys. I'm like, geez, I'm not gonna have 2 beers and decide to play with you.
Right. Exactly.
I'm fine. But it's a matter of why is that being pushed, and why do my kids know about their teachers' political agendas? And my kids do, because I talk to them.
Right.
I'm like, hey, what are you guys talking about? Oh, tell me about that thing you were talking about with abortion. Let's hear what your teacher taught you. And they should be learning about all these things. It's part of the American discourse. I'm okay with that. But
it's indoctrination.
But give us both sides of the argument so that kids can like, I don't. Don't tell them your decision.
I would like for it to be age appropriate, though.
For sure, but my kids are 13 and 16.
Oh, okay.
So it's not, But I've been tracking them. I listen. I'm paying attention, and then I call up the principal. I'm like, hey, I need to see this teacher in your office. You tell me when, and I just push, because if you don't push, nobody does anything.
We need more men to go to these schools. Thank God for all the what they call the bear moms.
Mama bears. The
mama bears, and it's wonderful. But men. We have a certain level of energy, man. We have a certain presence.
Damn right.
And when men show up,
it's accountability.
There you go.
And I'll sit down and say, hey, ladies, let's just all start. I know you girls all love kids, and you're all well-intentioned. You're really unprofessional, and what you're doing, I don't agree with, and the results really matter here.
Right.
So who's in charge?
Yeah.
I like to ask who's in charge. That's my favorite.
I love it.
Who's in charge? Are you having my 13-year-old boy who you won't let drive, vote, smoke? But is he in charge of his future?
Wow.
Or are you the teacher in charge, or the principal? Are you in charge, or am I in charge?
Exactly.
Because I know what the state says.
You're the parent,
right? I know the state says I'm in charge, and I'm letting you all drive a little, but you can't just drive into a cliff,
right?
So I recommend every dad, if you want to change your school, go in and be a boss. Go in and have a meeting with the principal and a teacher, and have teachers know people are paying attention.
Did you see that video of the black fathers in I think it was Detroit?
Yes, where they went through and there was a bunch of thuggery going on.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of fightings every day, stabbing, shooting, all kinds of stuff. It was about 12 black dads showed up, man, and they started walking down the school hallways and stuff like that. It straightened up immediately.
Right.
And I believe now
we have to be around. This does not work without men doing this.
I love what you're saying.
We have to be.
It's the truth.
And we've got to be in Congress. And I've been telling congressmen, if you get elected, you come back and make it a mission to go to stuff that seems too beneath you.
Right. Here's what I have that's different from my opponents. I have a vision for CD4. I don't just have a vision for Washington, but my CD is going to be the reddest CD in America. We have the potential. We led the nation when it comes down to audit and doing all this stuff. So we are politically astute. We're going to bring this CD back to family, faith, and to freedom. We want to teach our children and deprogram them from this CRT stuff. We want to bring in police stuff. I just did an event with Brandon Tatum, and we did the Blexit at our church. So
I like him. He came in and did the show a couple weeks back.
He's a great guy, good guy, man. Yeah. And and his team of Blexit and him and Candace Owens, we all teamed up, and I want to show the police officers and change the narrative. As an African-American candidate, I can help these black kids realize that police officers are not your worst nightmare. Looking statistically, your worst nightmare is a black mom in her womb and your fellow black community. Black males kill more black males than any numbers here in this country.
Until I've been reading these fascinating statistics about the Reconstruction period after the Civil War and how African Americans experienced this explosion in literacy, had a higher rate of marriage, had a nuclear family at a higher rate than whites did, because whites were hillbilly culture most of the country, right?
Right.
And then it all stopped in World War II. Something happened. Something happened around World War II.
Welfare.
Literacy. Yeah.
Welfare.
Yes. It's amazing.
Yeah.
People forget there was almost a century of this explosion in blacks, in black success.
Yeah. We were marrying. We were leading the country in marriages at the time.
And literacy.
And
Blacks
literacy.
were more literate
The
than
Harlem
white
Renaissance. The Harlem Renaissance was leading the nation in this black literacy with books and literature and all this different. When you notice the rappers, I don't know if you're into rap music, but a lot of
I recently am.
a lot of the black rappers from back in the day, like Rakim, LL Cool J, Run DMC, all these guys were literal rappers. They had words, right? You can tell that they were read up, but you compare that to West Coast rappers. West Coast rappers were just repetitive, but they had nice beats.
They had great beats.
They had beats.
And it was a little gangster. I'll tell you what. I started listening to Cool G Rap.
Cool G Rap. That's a new guy. I ain't even heard any of his new stuff.
No,
I don't even listen to these new guys.
He's
man.
old. He's old original.
Okay.
He's an OG.
Okay.
And you know what's amazing to me? It kind of reminds me of all of that old rap that kind of came out of New York.
Yeah.
Because I was going to school back there when all that
Yeah. Okay. So you was in the midst of it.
And I remember going to parties with all my New York friends, and that was all that was being played, and I had never heard it. I was like, oh my God. As I go back now as a 52-year-old man that's kind of been around the racetrack a couple times, the guys were talking about the plight of their community. I mean, it was really honest American music.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Like no one's looking. I turn it up and I listen to it in my
Right.
truck because I'm like, I identify with these guys telling a real story.
Right.
Because it wasn't bullshit.
Here's the deal, though. I believe that the Hollywood leftists, they begin to use this as a way to glorify the lifestyle. So now these black kids begin to look at somebody who speaks properly, who goes to school, who pays their bills on time, who's faithful to their wives and all this kind of stuff as a negative. You don't have any. You're a chump. You don't have any street cred.
Yeah.
And so this begins to develop something for the black people. It developed an identity. When Joe Biden said this, and I told people,
oh my God,
when he said you ain't black
if you don't vote for him, if you're not sure if you
there
can
you
vote
go.
for me,
The Democrats had something to do with developing this black identity.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I read this fascinating piece. You're familiar with Thomas Sowell?
Yeah.
Thomas writes this amazing piece talking about how basically there's kind of two cultures in America. There's your kind of corporate collegiate culture, and then there's hillbilly culture.
Right.
And that the African American community had its culture kind of stolen from it in the 1940s and 50s by the welfare system and big government. And then African Americans related to hillbilly culture. So they've layered and so he draws all these parallels between believe in God, hate the government, solve problems with violence, goes down through this list and say, your ingrained hillbilly culture layered with a kind of broken down community because of government interaction. And then you see rap lay on top of that. You see Hollywood lay on top of that. And then you see
Then you got the media.
What happened to the African American? They talk about disenfranchised, right? Not part of the American dream.
Yeah.
Except for 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, almost 100 years.
Yeah.
African Americans dug in to education and success more than any other demographic.
And the Democrats made sure they stopped that.
Right.
Because you're
going to vote wrong.
We were getting, that's right.
Because you're going to vote wrong. You're going to be wrong-headed.
We were Republicans.
Right. Because
until Lyndon B. Johnson did what he did.
And that's what Malcolm X saw, because he was from that era. His father was from that era. And Malcolm X said, you're just, he dropped the N-bomb plenty. He was saying it, but he, basically said, you're a house nigger.
You're a house nigger. Yep.
Yeah, and I go, oh my
Hey,
God.
listen, nothing wrong with those types of truths, because he helped us out. But what the Democrats have been well at is because they own the media.
Yeah.
They have set the narrative so much that black people are helping and assisting the very people who hated them from the beginning.
Who are oppressing them.
Exactly.
I've had this conversation with folks, and I've said, people talk about race and they talk about the problems of our country. And I say, look, capitalism's not perfect, but it's pretty awesome.
It is.
Let me tell you something. I would hire one-legged purple lesbians if they were great knife makers.
Yeah.
Capitalism doesn't care about your color. It cares about your outcome.
There you go. Listen, as a young man who grew up in the country, I grew up in the South. My father was
Where'd you grow up?
Mississippi.
Oh, man. Where in Mississippi?
I lived 20 minutes away from Brett Favre. He was a senior in high school. I was a sophomore. Our high school destroyed them. We won state championships and all kinds of stuff. I was the first person. Well, he was the first person from that area down there to go pro. Then you had Walter Payton, who was down there from Columbia, Mississippi, and that was like maybe 2 hours from where I live. But yeah, I made it to the pros, man. I got a full-ride scholarship here to Arizona State. Was a running back at Arizona State only for 2 seasons because I was a junior college transfer. And from there, man, I got picked up by the San Francisco 49ers for 2 years, played for the Oakland Raiders starting fullback, came out on a Monday night. They said my name, man. I mean, this is like a dream come true. This is America, bro. I've never allowed people to make me hate my country. I love America.
It's one of the things I'm not a big spectator. I've always been to kind of get involved.
Yeah.
Or I loved playing baseball, and I played it at a pretty high level. I played in college.
Did you pitch?
No, I was a catcher.
You were a catcher.
Yep. Boss man, run the team.
I was a pitcher. We had a great relationship.
Yeah. No, the catcher kind of runs the team.
Yeah.
And I was I wasn't ADD, but I was like, man, I need action. I can't sit in left field.
Yep.
So it was either shortstop or catcher. I always liked the good thinking spots.
How's your knees?
Oh, my knees are awful. I mean, if you see me, I walk like a gorilla. I'm just slightly leaned forward. I'm always kind of side to side because my knees are trashed.
Every catcher I know has knee problems.
Yeah, 10 years. 10 years.
That's crazy.
10 years kneeling.
Wow.
Yeah. So if I'm in Europe, I can spot the prostitutes and me. It's 2 years on their knees. So just you got a chance to bite into the American apple and have a great experience. One of the things that's alienated me from sports is the wokeness of these multimillionaire. And I don't resent the guys for making the money. You get a short career.
I blow them out the water right away. You know what I say? If the white man is your oppressor, why are you marrying his daughter? If you are so upset about the white man and he's holding you back with your millions of dollars and your big name, everywhere you go, you're pampered by white folks. But if you hate the white man and you hate what he's doing to you, why are you marrying his daughter? Why don't you go in the hood and marry some of these sisters and bring some of them up?
I'm telling you, almost every.
Am I talking?
Listen,
am I talking real?
Oh yeah. How about Kamala Harris? Same thing.
Exactly.
I mean, She
made it on her knees.
She
should have knee problems.
Yeah, she should have some knee problems. So I call her Camel Toe Harris. It's kind of mean to me. It's a
I've
bad
heard that
play.
one before.
So I saw a meme and it had a bunch of leftist black politicians and their white spouses, and it had quotes of the stuff they were saying. So it's the same, you're not the first guy.
Don Lemon, Lightfoot, she's a lesbian. Now, these guys are gay and lesbian. And this is another thing I tell people. You're Christians, but you have these people who are living these lifestyles that are abominable in the eyes of the Lord, and you're receiving truth from them instead of from somebody like me.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. And it's bizarre when people's personal lives don't kind of jive up with their mouth.
Exactly. I think Don Lemon was the one that said that white men are the terrorist of our day. He goes home to one every night. He's married to a white man.
Listen, if I went home to a white guy, I'd feel like they were terrorists too. I'd be afraid all the time. So, talk to us a little bit about. It's interesting. If I say anything about critical race theory, I'm a racist asshole, and I can be easily marginalized.
I want you to stop that.
How about you?
I want you and I want all of these white folks to stop doing
I keep talking about it. Don't worry. I'm not going to, but that's
Yeah.
what they say.
But that's their way. That's their cheap way of getting out of an argument because they know they are going to win. They're going to lose.
They're going to lose
because they don't have any facts.
Right.
Okay.
you're able to carry that standard as a conservative, black man.
as a black man. There's certain things.
Yeah, because
when I
a
get on the
55-year-old Jewish lady who's going to tell you about racial inequity, you can kind of set her straight. Me, I'm just like, all right, I got to listen to you again.
I live in this body every day as a black man in this country. And one thing I'm not an African American. I've never been to Africa, not one time. Don't disenfranchise me from the country that my parents and my foreparents brought me up on.
So
I'm black.
What are you, like, black American?
I'm
right?
black.
Okay, cool.
I'm not an African American. That was something that Jesse Jackson termed to separate us from, to make us feel separate from America, so that when they start feeding us this agenda to separate us from America,
that's how you lock people up. That's how you throw them on your plantation.
It is.
Get on my plantation. We're African Americans,
right?
And I'm like, I'm sitting back all the time going, God, I don't know if I were black, I don't know if I'd want to be in that group.
Elon Musk is African American.
Elon Musk, that's right. That's right, man. I would like to one of the platforms that I'm doing, man, is totally different. I want you to check this out, man. All the talk now is free speech, right?
Yeah.
Elon Musk put a third of his fortune on free speech. That's the power of free speech. But I say free speech is far more valuable than that. You can't put a price on it, right?
And he agrees with you, apparently.
Right. This man is amazing. When he did that, it stirred the wasps' nest. It showed you that these demons, that these Democrats was like, hey, this is our way to power. We have to suppress the knowledge. I think it was Jack Dorsey who said that had he not suppressed the information about Hunter Biden's laptop, the laptop from hell, he said that he's sure President Donald Trump would have won.
Sure, and they still think it was an honest election. That's them, and that's in their back of their heads. They're going, and it was a clean election, and we affected it. And actually, he still won.
Come on, man.
He still won.
How did this old man who never left his basement get 81 million votes?
No way.
You got more black
than
votes
Obama?
Exactly.
Impossible.
Impossible. It was a lie. So here's the deal, brother. February 4th, 2021, Time magazine comes out and spills the beans. So I had a reporter come up to me and try to do a spring thing, like, do you believe that Donald Trump won the election in 2020? I said, I don't have to believe. I said, Time magazine told me that it was taken from him. Time magazine, February 4th, 2021, came out and said that we all worked together to make sure that Donald Trump was not the president. So now you go talk to Time magazine. You ain't got to talk to me.
Biggest conspiracy in world history. Biggest conspiracy in world history.
Absolutely. And these people, listen, when I get to Congress, sparks are going to fly. And the reason why we're here in this spot now that we're in, and on the brink of losing our freedom and losing our country, is not just because of the leftists. It's because of weak GOP members. They have been solid. They have been weak. They have been corrupt. And when President Donald Trump was in power, we had the Senate and we had the House. We should have reformed Obamacare. We should have had an immigration that was ready to be written into law, but we did nothing because of these weak members.
They fought against him.
Yeah. And you remember McCain?
Oh.
You remember McCain, the famous thumb, and he died a few days after that?
You know, I've actually had words with McCain.
You did?
Twice.
Was that recent? I mean, was that before he died or something?
No. It was a decade before at an open forum down at the Biltmore. And then I'd had words with him one other time in an establishment. We were both in it at the same time.
No. When a Marine say you had words with somebody, this was an exchange, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and I was mad at him. I was annoyed by him before he was a rhino. I mean, I was annoyed by him. I'm like, why the bad choices? Why do you keep siding with the wrong guy? Why do you keep deciding this? How come that? And he didn't want to be accountable. He was kind of a nasty character. He wasn't very polite if you queried him, because he thought he was beyond being questioned.
Yeah. Well, see, he was a spoiled kid. His father was an admiral or something like that. Yeah. And so he would get away with bad behavior in the military.
He almost sunk an aircraft carrier single-handedly.
And he killed about 100 and something men.
USS Forrestal. Trump said some funny stuff about him that all of us veterans, we all just thought it was funny.
Well, he said, I like people that wasn't caught.
Yeah, he says, well, that's not a hero. That's just getting caught. My friends don't get caught. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I've heard fighter pilots say that. Say, he got famous for getting shot down. Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had his commanding officer from the Hanoi Hilton at my house for dinner years ago. Mm-hmm. And he was a senior ranking imprisoned officer. And I had asked him about McCain. And it's very interesting when you meet guys from communities, probably much like a championship football team. If you've got a quirky character and you ask one of the guys in the team about that person and they don't say anything,
That's a tale.
That's bad.
That's a tale. Exactly. I know.
You want to
When
bring
they
that
don't
guy
say
up and they
nothing.
go, oh, no, he's awesome, man. He has
Yeah.
saved my ass. I have dinner with his family. He's good people. No,
Yeah.
he's one of us.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
good people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when they say, yeah, he was there same time as me.
Yeah. Because they know they're part of the family. They don't want to, ruffle any feathers.
Yeah, that's
you know?
right.
I
So
know.
when you get like a Navy SEAL, if you ask a SEAL about another Navy SEAL
Right.
and he says, yeah, I know him. He was in the team same time as me. Like that right there. Yeah, he might have tried to have sex with his mom or something. Like it's bad.
Yep.
It's got to be bad to be
Yeah.
like that.
I know.
So you're going to talk to me a little bit about, how long have you been running now?
Since 2021, I think it's October. I think that's when I registered to start running for U.S. Congress.
And you're in the Republican primary right now. Tell us who you're kind of up against.
Yeah. So we had several people make the ballot. We have a former Marine. He's Kelly Cooper, well-spoken, good businessman.
Yep.
Good profile, good guy. We have Tanya Willis, who's an attorney. She's very well-spoken, very bright, raising a lot of money. And then we have David Giles. David Giles lost several times already. Good
All
man,
right.
though. I didn't know he rode a Harley. He rides a Harley, but he's lost several times. Good guy, though. And then we have another one named Renee Lopez.
Tell me about has there been any polling? Do you have any sense of kind of where you are in the pack right now?
Oh man, when I walk into a room,
Yeah.
that's the polling. My volunteers, team of volunteers, I have over 200 volunteers. Most of them are young from Arizona State. When I walk into a room of Republicans, like if it's Republican, Awatuki women, stuff like that, when I speak, I'm on the stage with my opponents, my viewpoints, I get lots of applause, I get lots of response. If we were gauging from that, I would say I was very much in a lead. But I'm gonna be honest with the audience. I haven't raised a lot of money. I haven't gone to Washington. I haven't taken a lobby dollar, and I will not. I'm doing this wholly grassroots, and I'm gonna do this on what? You see, a lot of my opponents are raising good money, but you're not gonna be able to outraise Greg Stanton because he's a leftist and he's got George Soros money. So if you raise $2 million, he's gonna raise 20. Okay, so it don't make it about money, make it about message. And that's where I'm great at. I'm a pastor. I've been a preacher for 30 years. I've written several books. Right now I'm in school to get my theology degree, my doctorate degree in theology. So speaking to crowds and moving the crowd, that's what I do. I have a powerful message. And one of the messages that I have has to do with free speech. We are going to write an internet bill of rights, because everything around us is taking away our freedom, starting with the freedom of speech. We have smart towns, smart cities, smart homes, smart refrigerators. All this stuff is connected to the internet.
Yeah.
And as we can see that these people are building gates around us, cages around us based on the internet.
Yeah.
And unless we go in front of them and start making sure that our freedom goes up into the cyberspace, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. We're going to look up and see all of our rights taken away because we have an antiquated bill in the First Amendment that we need to go in and make some adjustments to. And I am the only candidate that's talking about our freedoms. I believe this is the civil rights situation of our day. And as you can see, the left are adamant about taking away our rights.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I have my theory about Twitter. I believe Jack Dorsey's a free speech guy. Also, I think he's a weak human. I think he's not a strong man. And because of that, you see men that don't have a good keel, the center of their ship.
Right.
And which is built around your parents and your position in the universe and where you believe you are in that.
Right.
I see men without keels and they drift. Yeah. And I think you could tell by that dirty ass beard of his and his scrubby look.
He looked like a goat.
He looked like a homeless goat. And you see that guy and you can see the fact he works in techie land and you hire all these youngsters to techie land. I think they hijacked his company from him.
I believe so. Because it's weird how he departed.
It weird how he departed, and it was weird the nod he gave to Neon. I mean, to Elon.
Yeah, you're right.
It's funny.
You're right.
I think his company was hijacked from him, death by a thousand cuts, all these leftists, and I think he couldn't win.
Wow.
Because of his lack of leadership and moral fiber.
Brother, I didn't even think about that. That's a great angle there, and it looks and sounds just like He was penciled out.
It does. And or he's like, enough. I can't. You guys, I can't fight this battle. Everybody in the company have done this, and you're all going to fight me at every level. And then he's got to sit before Congress and have them yell at him about this, and they're all doing it subversively. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. The day after Elon announced, Twitter seemed more neutral. The very next day.
The very next day.
Because they were
hundreds of thousands of new people come back online.
Not only that, but I mean, they were not censoring people the same way.
Yeah, and so that's what I want to find out in Congress.
I think they're like, oh boy, a new boss is coming. We better get rid of that. We had
that algorithm.
We had that pound of cocaine sitting in the algorithm, and we better get that pound of cocaine out of the office before the new boss gets here.
Well, now, wouldn't it be interesting if once I get to Congress and I bring Elon Musk before Congress, I want you to tell us what you discovered at Twitter when you got there.
Yeah.
What was the algorithm set? Who was it set against?
Yeah.
How was it set? Talk to us about that, because we need to bring Jack Dorsey back, and we need to bring what's the alien-headed one of Facebook?
Oh, Zuckerberg.
You're going to bring him back because they lied to Congress, and they need to face some serious
they
jail
absolutely
time.
lied.
Yeah.
But here, I'll tell you something. They might not actually know. They might not actually think.
Come on, man.
No, those algorithms are gigantic, and they've got hundreds of people working on them. It would be really easy if your entire hiring pool are Marin County leftists. It would be very easy for them to all have their thumb on the scale and the boss not know.
I would say so. But if you're a guy like Zuckerberg who set these,
I think he's a dirty rotten lefty who let it happen on his watch.
Oh yeah,
because let me tell you, lefties wouldn't take over my company.
Yeah, I don't believe Jack Dorsey. I'm with you on that. Jack Dorsey doesn't seem to have much knowledge.
No,
although I think he's a dark side worshiper.
Maybe.
I can see it. I can see it on him, but maybe he doesn't have the knowledge that Zuckerberg knows. I know Zuckerberg did this stuff on purpose because of what he did.
You could tell he was spending. He spent $400 million trying to nudge the election, and clearly did. That's a lot of money.
Wow, man. Wow.
Well,
if they don't face justice for this, man, we might as well give up our country. If we don't close the border and bring the people to justice, like the FBI, James Comey, John Brenner, James Clapper, all of these guys, Andrew McCabe, all these guys that did this stuff and lied to Congress and tried to set Trump up with all this fake dossier stuff. Hey, man, we don't have a country. You know
what's fascinating as I've watched this all unfold, and you hear politicians, they always say, "Oh, I mean the leadership, not the rank and file." You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know.
It was the leadership of the FBI, not your FBI agents. I don't know about.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Sean Hannity does that all the time. I hate it when he does that.
I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah.
They're all in it.
They're all on it.
They're all in it.
Yeah.
And wait till you, if you ever know anybody who gets entangled with the FBI.
Yeah.
They're a lying bunch of, they're gangsters in my opinion.
They
the
are.
FBI are gangsters.
Who do they answer to? They're supposed to answer.
Nobody.
Exactly.
That's what happens to regular people when there's no accountability. It was the first thing I said today. Mm-hmm. It drives me crazy.
Let me tell you, brother. I believe that the FBI, even if we pulled the purse strings from them and defunded them, they will go deep state on us. They have the money. That apparatus, it will continue to exist, and it will continue to be the bane of our society.
You know what? Let's talk about a couple problems that plague our country.
Okay.
And I think clearly we got a problem with fentanyl. We got a problem with China. We got a problem with drug abuse in this country and its availability. I mean, I could throw a rock out the front window and hit two junkies in the forehead probably.
Hey.
Trump, his approach to ISIS. Now, I don't remember if you remember.
There was no more ISIS.
When Obama was in, he said it's the new norm and we're going to have to wait a generation for this to kind of play itself out. And this is the way these things go. He would kind of lecture us.
Yeah, yeah.
And Trump shut that shit down in no time.
He did.
Imagine if Trump gets reelected and,
he will.
And the gaze turns towards China and fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
There's a battle to be
That's a bioweapon warfare.
Yes, it is.
They hitting us with warfare.
Yeah, and it's coming in Port of Long Beach and it's coming in Port of Houston.
Let me tell every American right now that's listening to this podcast, be careful about doing all these DNA tests because their stuff is going right to China. So they can design a specific weapon set against your DNA, your body type, your age, your race, your everything, and kill you. This is why fentanyl is only killing certain people, certain ages. This stuff it's a designer weapon, man.
It's crazy. And I think about the problems that they've told, like the border. They've been crying out about the border my entire life.
Wow.
And I'm an Arizonan native, so
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've been hearing about the border my whole life.
Right.
So I have Century. And Trump shut the border down.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
He just shut it down.
Boom.
Like, enough with your bullshit. Let's
Yeah.
put up a wall, start enforcing, support
They
the border
fought
patrol.
it.
And right. And so when I heard Mayorkas last week get up and talk about we inherited a broken border policy and a broken border system. I'm like, no, you didn't. It was working really well.
Mayorkas, I would impeach that guy immediately.
Yeah, I would too. So, excuse me. Tell us any other pet projects or things you're going to hit the ground day one. Who are you talking to? Who are you in advance? Are you reaching out, or do you have any congressmen reaching out to you to say, hey, if you make it in the fold, caucus with us, work with us, Freedom Caucus?
Yeah, Freedom Caucus. I do have plans to join a lot of these guys, but to be fair, I'm just letting the process play out. Once we hit the primaries, I do plan on making a lot of calls. I have made calls to their secretaries to let them know that I am running, but I'm not seeking their endorsement in anything like that. Let's just let the people decide, and we'll see what happens in the primary, and then we'll go from there. But yes, I do have some pet peeves. We got to close the border. Of course, everybody's saying that, but that border has to be closed. But immediately after closing the border, we've got to come up with an immigration process. We got to set this thing and set it in law, and so there'll be no more of this. We've been talking about this for the longest. We will have a supermajority in Congress, but we got to have the Senate that's ready to vote with us.
Yeah, and we got to get rid of the dead guy. So weekend at Biden's. So the real thing is, I see. The Democrats right now, they're coming up with crazy solutions to problems they started.
Yeah, exactly.
And they say, "Oh no, we never had an energy policy." I'm like, we actually had one 2 years ago.
That's right. This is the great reset.
It was working really well. What's fascinating is the border is the reason the border is the way it is because our federal government has bungled immigration.
Yeah.
It should not take 12 years if you want to come here.
What is the problem?
If you listen to immigrants who've come here, and you listen to their
story. It took them a long time. It took them a lot of money, yes.
You and I would go, oh, man, let's just get on a plane and go to Mexico. We'll walk there. This is a bunch of bullshit.
Exactly. I get it.
It's broken, everything our government does, it sucks.
It's by design, my man.
Yeah.
Because if the Democrats didn't have a problem, they wouldn't have anything to run on. Because if you notice, they never offer any solutions to America. They never offer us any solutions. No, they give us problem after problem after problem.
Their real solution right now is new windows in old houses.
Yeah.
I mean, are you out of your mind?
Oh, here we go, brother. Let's make water wetter. Let's make wind windier. Let's make grass grassier. And at the same time now, inflation's gone up, and the dollar that was once $1 is now 65 cents. You have groceries going crazy. It's just gas prices are crazy. They never seem to solve a problem. They haven't solved one yet.
No, they create. And almost the best thing for the Republican Party is every now and then let the Democrats run shit for a while because they are so screwed up. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
How could anyone? 45% of Americans think Biden's administration is doing a good job.
What?
That's a poll I heard this morning.
No, man. These polls.
He's down at 30% on all of these issues, which is awful.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And 45 is awful in the general.
And of course, if the media's giving you a number, it's lower
got to
than
be
that.
true. Yeah, right. But you look at it and you go, okay, let's say it's 25%. Who is the 1 in 4 Americans who think this is going well?
Wow.
Where are they at?
Exactly.
Let's say we all agree today. Biden's disapproval is 75%. I want to know who the other 25% are so we could tattoo a dummy question mark on their forehead.
Exactly.
All right. That sounds awful. That's enough of my neo-Nazi comments for the day. Listen, it's been a pleasure having you come here. Tell us and tell folks that are watching this. Do you have a campaign manager? Do you have a campaign advisor, or are you running your own show?
No. I have everything I have is volunteers. I don't have to pay anybody because people believe in my message.
All right. So they're going to watch this and they're going to go like, oh my God, he said that. And you said right. Tell anybody who's watching this where they can donate and where they can find you and add a little grease to your machine.
Oh, yeah. Go to Jerone for Congress. My name is spelled Jerone. My father's was half native.
So Jeron as in Nancy.
Yeah. My dad was going to name me
or
Geronimo.
N as in NFL.
Yeah, there we go. Or North, or November. My father was native, half native and half black. He was going to name me Geronimo. So my name isn't Jerome, it's Jerone with an N. So my mom didn't let him go all the way with the Geronimo because she was all black and she wasn't having it.
Oh my God, Geronimo would have been awesome.
Oh, it
right?
would have been great,
Oh,
right? You know?
imagine, and we've got Geronimo on the 5-yard line.
And then I,
It would have been awesome
yeah,
for
so
nothing.
yeah, but this campaign that I'm running, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the freedom of America. Here's another thing I need to do for America. They come trying to do this social scores. They're trying to give us programmable digital money.
Yeah.
This is what I said. The Internet Bill of Rights has got to keep us free. We don't want any programmable money. We don't want social scoring. It's going to take away our freedom, brother. This is all about.
This is why they don't want cash.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
cash makes you free.
Yes. And when they come with this digital money that they can program, well, then we see that you gave money to Donald Trump.
When can
Donald
they
Trump
delete your money?
is a white racist, and he's
You're a
because
terrorist.
You're a terrorist, so we
Yep.
can shut your money off.
People say, "Oh, you're crazy." They did it in Canada.
They did it,
We just watched it happen this past year.
brother. That's what I tell people, man.
They'll take anything, and you come up with the craziest thing the government do. There are enough people there; they'll do it. They will absolutely do it. If 100 of them are involved in any,
Well, you're a Marine, aren't you?
yeah.
Okay, you went to Iraq. That was based on what? That was based on war against terror. That's not really quantifiable, is it?
No.
You could label anything terrorism. Now, these very people are labeling
Now it's
parents terror.
If we disagree with you,
It's terrorism.
right?
And they could have the weight of the government come upon you because you're labeled as a
Not
terrorist.
could. They will.
And they're doing it.
They will.
And this is why freedom of speech has got to be our number one thing. It's the civil rights issue of our day. I'm the only candidate that's running on that. If we don't get this thing done, brother, we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
What's happened, and I remind people about this all the time. The founding generation of people who signed the Declaration of Independence and then subsequently ratified our Constitution, if you look at the document and how it's worked and how it works, it's amazing.
They were under divine inspiration.
Absolutely. It's a seminal document that changed the planet.
Yeah.
Every country since has reviewed it and mimicked its best
Absolutely.
stuff. If you look at how many years it took to get everybody on board and get them to ratify, and the Bill of Rights that had to be added, when we see the erosion of the Bill of Rights, we see the weakening of the Republic.
Absolutely.
Because when you don't have the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third, Fourth, the 10th Amendment, powers enumerated,
goes to the states. That's what we're seeing right now with this abortion deal.
That's right. If you don't see this as the 10 original Bill of Rights, they're the axle on which this whole thing turns.
Amen.
And nobody would sign it until those were there. And once they said, "Oh, okay, I'm on," and we're in.
It was an amazing document.
Amazing.
And when I read it and I studied, I just say, hey, listen, man, these people had to be under the divine inspiration. But another thing was that their experience coming from those under those European heavy thumbs, they know the power of a tyrannical government.
That's right.
And so having that experience and divine inspiration had to make almost a near perfect constitution.
It's pretty amazing, and if you look at how it's survived into modern times, if you think about and you read in context, what was going on at the time, you don't have to guess what it was about.
Right.
You don't have to guess what the Second Amendment was about. You don't have to guess what the First Amendment was about.
Why do we have?
It wasn't about hunting.
Well, why do the Republicans always say that? It's such an embarrassing thing. It's embarrassing.
I tell people all the time, I go, look, it is not about your right to defense. It's not about your right to hunt. It is about the fact that we had just gotten out from under centuries of everybody being a slave. Boom. Everybody was.
That's it.
Centuries.
Yeah.
And said, you're not the boss of me. Who I am comes from the Creator, not from you. You're not in charge of me. And how do I know? I got a cannon in my front yard.
Joe Biden said you can't have one of those.
He was wrong about that.
He was wrong about that.
You could have a cannon.
You can have a
day.
cannon. You can have it. It's not written in the Constitution.
If you could afford to have it, you could get it.
You can get it.
Yeah. Well, listen, been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Hey, man,
I hope
nice
it was as
meeting
fun for you as it was for me.
I had a great time, man. It's been a great thrill.
As you get through this, and we wish you the best of luck working your way navigating this this great American thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna grow and become somebody more evolved and different and bigger if you make it through this.
Yes, I will
And-
make it through it by the grace of God.
You know, every one of these experiences, they hammer our soul, they hammer who we are. They hammer our spirit, and I don't mean in a bad way. I mean like the forge. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
You take a raw hunk of nothing, and you heat it up and hammer it, and it
Yep.
becomes something, right? And that requires hard work and craftiness and pain and sacrifice and hard work.
Absolutely.
The number one thing I see that politicians lack is work effort, work ethic, and getting out there and doing the basics. When I see them do the basics, it baffles everyone how they're able to win with no money. It baffles them how their message overcame the fundraising of their opponent. So get out there and do the hard work, and then a lot of times what I see, I'm giving this my advice section. This is the advice section of our show. And the other thing is they forget what got them there. So they get to Washington and they get seduced by it because it's a big sexy animal. And they forget that the PTA back here in Phoenix, the PTA in Tempe and Mesa, those parent-teacher organizations, they matter. And if a congressman steps in to ask a question or to watch, even if it's an hour out of your day while you're back in Phoenix, it is a powerful message to the few dads that show up that it matters and to stick around and rattle sabers and be there. And I see too many politicians go away and they think all the power's in Washington.
It's not.
And it's an illusion.
It's not.
The power's at the PTA.
There you go.
It's the most direct, democracy going on. And I would just advise you to keep coming back and doing that. Have all the parents see that you care enough as a congressman to be there. You'll be the only one. And it's a lot of people. And they all care. Well, just a thought.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
lovely having you here. We
Thank
wish you
you,
the
my
very
friend.
best. All right, sports fans, that's the deal. You know how it is. We bring everybody here. Hey, give us your website one more time. Oh, and a flex. We got a Jesse the Body Ventura flex out of it. Brother, come on, brother. Come on, get him.
Yeah.
So let's hear your website one more time.
Jerome for Congress. Make a donation of any size.
Jeron as in NFL. Jerone for FOR.
Yes.
Congress.
forcongress.com. Yes. I would appreciate all of your donations, all your supports. And don't forget to pray for us. Pray for me. I'm praying for you. God bless you and God bless America.
Hey, there's a battle going on, you guys. Get involved. And it's so if you say, hey, I'm going to spend $100 a month on something. For those of you who are in the big income years of your life, make it $1,000. Add a few bucks in. Throw it around these congressional races. They matter a lot. Imagine if right now, instead of the Democrats having a slim majority, imagine if we had a slim majority. Almost every dumbass thing that Washington's doing would be blocked. It matters. And when you don't have the presidency, midterm matters. So don't unplug for 3.5 years and then just show up for the one. Stay plugged, and you find, with less people engaged at the midterms, those of us who stay engaged, we actually have more power. You can have a bigger voice when there's few of you hollering. So holler with your checkbook, volunteer for your local precinct committeeman positions, and volunteer for the election polling places in your town so that we don't need to import any more goddamn Californians to come here and count our votes and cure our unsigned votes, whatever that means. Wow. Greg Medford from the Greg Medford Show here in Phoenix, Arizona at Medford Knife and Tool. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.